In real life, I assure you, there is no such thing as algebra. Reach me down my tightrope braid. I would know him when we met, when I shared my later science, sitting humbly at his feet. He may know the law of all things, yet be ignorant of how we are working to completion, working on from then to now. Pray, remember that I leave you all my theory complete, lacking only certain data for your adding as is me. And remember, men will scorn it. It is original and true, and a bloke of Newtonness may fall bitterly on you. But my pupil, as my pupil you have learned the worth of scorn. You have laughed, but me at pity. We have joyed to be forlorn. What for us are all distractions of men's fellowship and smiles. What for us, the goddess of pleasure with her meretricious smiles. You may tell that German college that their honor comes too late, but they must not waste repentance on the grisly savage fate. About my soul may set in darkness, it will rise in perfect light. I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. What, my boy, you are not weeping. You should save your eyes for sight. You will need them, mine observer. Yet for many, mine observer. Yet for many another night, I leave none but you, my pupil, unto whom my plans are known. You have not but me, you murmur, and I'll leave you quite alone. When then kiss me, since my mother left her blessing on my brow. There has been something wanting in my nature until now. I can dimly comprehend it, that I might have been more kind, might have cherished you more wisely, as the one I left behind. Leave behind, I have never failed in kindness. No, we lived too high for strife. A calm's coldness was the error which has crept into our life. But your spirit is untainted. I can dedicate you still to the service of your science. You will fervor it, you will. There are certain calculations I should like to make with you, to be sure that your deductions will be logical and true. And remember, patience. Patience is the watchword of a sage. Not today, nor yet tomorrow can complete a perfect age. I have sown like a tightrope braid, that a greater man may reap. But if none should do my reaping, will disturb me in my sleep. So be careful and be faithful, though like me you leave no name. See, my boy, that nothing turn you to the mere pursuit of fame. I must say goodbye, my people, for I can no longer speak. Draw the curtain back for Venus, eerie, my vision grows too weak. Eerie, my vision grows too weak. It's strange the pearly planet should look red as fiery Mars. God will mercifully guide me on my way amongst stars. Mathematics expresses values that reflect the cosmos, including orderliness, a balance, harmony, logic, and abstract beauty. The difference between the poet and the mathematician is that the poet tries to get his head into the heavens, while the mathematician tries to get the heavens into his head. I had a polynomial once. My doctor removed it. I'm sorry to say that the subject I most disliked was mathematics. I have thought about it. I think the reason was that mathematics leaves no room for argument. If you made a mistake, that was all there was to it. My first feeling was that there was no way to continue. Writing isn't like math and math. 2 plus 2 always equals 4, no matter what your mood is like. With writing, the way you feel changes everything. Mathematics, rightly viewed, possesses not only truth but supreme beauty, a beauty cold and austere, like that of sculpture, without appeal to any part of our weaker nature, without the gorgeous trappings of painting or music, yet sublimely pure and capable of a stern perfection, such as only the greatest art can show. Solving a problem for which you know there's an answer is like climbing a mountain with a guide along a trail someone else has laid in mathematics. The truth is somewhere out there, in a place no one knows, beyond all the beaten paths, and it's not always at the top of the mountain. It might be in a crack on the smoothest cliff, or somewhere deep in the valley. The muse is not an artistic mystery, but a mathematical equation. The gift are those ideas you think as you drift to sleep. The giver is that you, the one you think of when you first awake. I couldn't claim that I was smarter than 65 other guys, but the average of 65 other guys certainly. But in my opinion, all things in nature occur mathematically. It is a story that matters, not just the ending. It's like asking why is Ludwig van Beethoven's Ninth Symphony beautiful if you don't see why. Someone can tell you, I know numbers are beautiful. If they aren't beautiful, nothing is. Physics depends on a universe infinitely centered on an equal sign. Since the mathematics have invaded the theory of relativity, I do not understand it myself anymore. I think the modern physics has definitely decided in favor of Plato. In fact, the smallest units of matter are not physical objects in the ordinary sense. They are forms, ideas which can be expressed only in mathematical language. Mathematics is the cheapest science. Unlike physics or chemistry, it does not require any expensive equipment. All one needs for mathematics is a pencil and paper, rapper, spitter forever. With me, so many subjects I spit. With me, everything turns into mathematics, logic, and the art of thinking and reasoning in strict accordance with the limitations and incapacities of the human misunderstanding. The basic of logic is a syllogism consisting of a major and a minor premise and a conclusion. Thus, major premise, 60 men can do a piece of work 60 times as quickly as one man. A minor premise, one man can dig a post hole in 60 seconds. Therefore, conclusion, 60 men can dig a post hole in 1 second. This may be called a syllogism, arithmetical, in which by combining logic and mathematics we obtain a double certainty and are twice blessed. Rhymes in a mess. We have a close circle of consistency here. The laws of physics produce complex systems, and these complex systems lead to consciousness, which then produces mathematics, which can then encode in a succinct and inspiring way the very underlying laws of physics that gave rise to it. They shouldn't be allowed to teach math so early in the morning. Rapping, spitting, and freestyle never ended about mathematics scientific. Soon after I began working for a professor, I realized that he talked about numbers whenever he was unsure of what to say or do. Numbers were also his way of reaching out to the world. They were safe, a source of comfort. Mathematicians deal with large numbers sometimes, but never in their income. Real mathematics must be justified as art, if it can be justified at all. I think we need more math majors who don't become mathematicians, more math major doctors, more math major high school teachers, more math major CEOs, more math major senators. But we won't get these unless we dump the stereotype that math is only worthwhile for kid geniuses rapping from Venus. Too large a proportion of recent mathematical economics are mere concoctions, as precise as the initial assumptions they rest on, which allow the author to lose sight of the complexities and the interdependencies of the real world in a maze of pretentious and unhelpful symptoms. Doing mathematics should always mean finding patterns and crafting beautiful and meaningful explanations of probability. Probability is a weaker notion than truth. When we were young, we spent so much time and pains in filling our notebooks with all definitions of religion, love, poetry, politics, art, in the hope that in the course of a few years we shall have condensed into our encyclopedia the net value of all the theories of that which the world has yet arrived. But year after year, our tables get no completeness, and at last we discover that our curve is a parabola whose arcs will never meet. Infinite is a meaningless word, except it states the mind is capable of performing an endless process of addition. Geometry has two great measures. One is the theorem of Pythagoras. The other, the division of a line into extreme and mean ratio. The first we may compare to a measure of gold. The second we may name a precious jewel. Dividing one number by another is mere computation, knowing what to do to divide by what is mathematics. The important thing to remember about mathematics is not to be frightened. If one is working from the point of view of getting beauty into one's equation, one is on a sure line of progress, rhyming a spit and a desk. People enjoy inventing slogans which violate a basic arithmetic, but which illiterate a deeper truth, such as I and one make one. For lovers are 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1 with Trinity. You can easily pick holes in these slogans, showing why, for instance, using the plus sign is inappropriate in both cases, but such cause proliferate. Two raindrops running down a window pane merge. Does 1 plus 1 make 1? A cloud breaks up into 2 clouds more. Evidence of the same. It is not at all easy to draw a sharp line between cases where what is happening could be called addition and where some other word is wanted. If you think that about the question, you will probably come up with some criterion involved in separation of the objects in space and making sure each one is clearly distinguishable from all the others. But then how could one count ideas or about a number of gases comprising the atmosphere somewhere? If you try to look it up, you could probably thin a statement such as there are 17 languages in India and 462 dialects. There is something strange about the precise statements like that when the concepts of language and dialect are themselves fuzzy. A relativist is an individual who doesn't know the difference between an adjective and an adverb. But a person who wishes to attain human perfection should study logic first, next mathematics, then physics, and lastly metaphysics. Do not imagine that mathematics is hard and crabbed and repulsive to common sense. Hence, the math is merely the etherealization of common sense, the land of easy mathematics, where he who works adds up and he who retires subtracts. Last time I asked, what does mathematics mean to you? And some people answered, a manipulation of numbers, the manipulation of structures. And if I had asked what music means to you, would you have answered the manipulation of notes? Well, there if I go, spent notes into my phone. We come astonishingly close to the mystical beliefs of Pythagoras and his followers, who attempted to submit all of life to the severity of numbers. Many of our psychologists, sociologists, economists, and other latter-day Kabbalists will have numbers to tell them the truth, or they will have nothing. We must remember that Galileo merely said that the language of nature is written in mathematics. He did not say that everything is, and even the truth about nature need not be expressed in mathematics. For most of human history, the language of nature has been the language of myth and ritual. These forms, one might add, had the virtues of leaving nature unthreatened and of encouraging the belief that human beings are part of it. It hardly befits people who stand ready to blow up the planet to praise themselves too vigorously for having found the true way to talk about nature. God made the integers, and all the rest is the work of man. Spent again and again, I said, what comes is called histories make men wise, poets witty, the mathematics subtle, a natural philosophy deep, moral, a great logic and rhetoric, able to contend. No mathematician in the world would bother making these senseless distinctions. 2 1/2 is a mixed number, while 5/2 is an improper fraction. They're equal for crying out loud. They are the exact same numbers and have the exact same properties. Who uses such words outside of 4th grade? Away goes the day. The study of mathematics is apt to commence in disappointment. We are told that by its aid the stars are weighed, and the billions of molecules in a drop of water are counted. Yet like the ghost of Hamlet, Hamlet's father, with great science eludes the efforts of our mental weapons to grasp it. I'm coughing, I'm hacking. Women have a passion for mathematics. They desire to divide their age in half, double the price of their clothes, and always add at least 5 years to the age of their best friend, a physicist. I have come to realize that mathematics, when used with sufficient care, is a proven pathway to truth. I tell them that if they will occupy themselves with the study of mathematics, they'll find in it the best remedy against the lusts of the flesh. I am no friend of probability, a theory I have hated it from the first moment when our dear friend Max Born gave it birth. For it could be seen how easy and simple it made everything in principle, everything ironed, cough and hacking, and true. Problems concealed. Everybody must jump on the bandwagon, Oswig, and actually not a year passed before it became an official credo, and it still is. The apex of mathematical achievement occurs when two or more fields, which were thought to be entirely unrelated, turn out to be closely intertwined. Mathematicians have never decided whether they should feel excited or upset about such events. I would say, if you like, that the party is like an outmoded mathematics, that is to say, the mathematics of elucid. We need to invent a non-elucidean mathematics with respect to political discipline. It is possible that the spent is probable and destructible. People think mathematics is complicated. Mathematics is the simple bit. It's the stuff we can't understand. It's cats that are more complicated. I mean, what is it in those little molecules and stuff that make one cat behave differently than another, or that make a cat? And how do you define a cat? I have no idea. There are other reasons we use math and physics. Besides keeping us honest, math is also the most economical and unambiguous terminology that we know of. Language is malleable. It depends on context and interpretation. Interpretation of math doesn't care about culture or history. If 1,000 people read a book, they read 1,000 different books, but if 1,000 people read an equation, they read the same equation. No, it is a very interesting number. It is the smallest number expressible as a sum of two cubes in two different ways. Spent in Wagos today, for the most part, physicists and mathematicians have settled on a fine division of labor in which the former complain about the of the latter, and the latter complain about the sloppiness of the former. I could never have gone far in any science, because on the path of every science but lying mathematics lies in wait for you, Your Excellency. I have no need of this hypothesis. Some people believe in imaginary friends. I believe in imaginary numbers. My mathematics is simple. 1 + 1 = 1. My beautiful proof lies all in ruins. Spit into you, and this is the team. We're trying to go to the moon. If you can't put someone up, please don't put them down. Bow wow, yippee-oh, yippee-meow. If there is one thing in mathematics that fascinates me more than anything else, and doubtless always has, it is neither a number nor size, but always form. A mathematician is a magician who converts adjectives into nouns, continuous into continuum, infinite into infinity, infinitesimal into location, OD into point, 1D into line, curved into a geodesic, spit and rapid. I spit it. Every formula which expresses the law of nature is a hymn of praise to God. What music is to the heart, mathematics is to the mind. The elegance of a mathematical theorem is directly proportional to the number of independent ideas one can see in the theorem, and inversely proportional to the effort it takes to see them. When the time is ripe for certain things, those things appear in different places in the manner of violets coming to light in early spring. Most people would have probably lost account 7. This was Harry knew from his extensive reading in logic and arithmetic. The largest number that most people could visually appreciate, but put 7 dots on the page, and most people can take a quick glance and declare 7, switch to 8, and the majority of humanity was lost. When we talk mathematics, we we may be discussing a secondary language built on the primary language truly used by the central nervous system. Thus, the outward forms of our mathematicians are not absolutely relevant from the point of view of evaluating what the mathematical or logical language truly used by the central nervous system is. Spitting this. However, the above remarks about reliability and logical and arithmetical depth prove that whatever the system is, it cannot fail to differ considerably from what we consciously and explicitly consider as mathematics. The world is of a single piece, yet we invent nets to trap it for our inspection. Then we mistake our nets for the reality of the piece, and these nets we catch the fishes of the intellect, but the sea of the wholeness forever eludes our grasp. So we forget our original intent, and then mistake the nets for the sea. The free of these nets we have named nature, mathematics, and art. We conclude they are different because we call them by different names. Thus, they are apt to remain forever separated, with nothing binding them together. It is not the nets that are at fault, but rather our misunderstanding of their function as nets. They do catch the fishes, but never the sea, and it is the sea that we ultimately decide. Here, I should attempt to treat human vice and fully geometrically the passion of hatred, anger, envy, and so on considered in themselves follow from the necessity and efficacy nature. I shall therefore treat the nature and the strength of the emotion in exactly the same manner, rapper forever spitter, as though I were concerned with lines, planes, and solids. These pages and pages of complex, impenetrable calculations might have contained the secrets of the universe copied out of God's notebook. In my imagination, I saw the creator of the universe sitting in some distant corner of the sky, weaving a pattern of delicate lace so fine that even the faintest light would shine through it. The lace stretches out infinitely in every direction, billowing gently in the cosmic breeze. You want desperately to touch it, hold it up to a light, rub it against your cheek, and all we ask is to be able to recreate the pattern, weave it again with a number somehow in our own language, to make that tiniest fragment of our own, to bring it back to earth. The thing I want you especially to understand is this feeling of divine revelation. I feel that the structure was out there all along. I just couldn't see it, and now I can. This is really what keeps me in the math game, a chance that I might glimpse some kind of secret underlying truth, some sort of message from the gods. Mathematics is the art of explanation. 99% of all statistics, 99% of all statistics only tell 49% of the story. The mathematicians are the priests of the modern world. I guess I think of lotteries as a tax on the mathematically challenged. Be honest, did you actually read the above geometric proof? Of course not. Who would want to? The effect of such a production being made over something so simple as to make people doubt their own intuition, calling the question the obvious by insisting that it be rigorously approved, is to say to a student your feelings and ideas are suspect. You need to think and speak our way. It is India that gave us the ingenious method of expressing all numbers by means of 10 symbols, each symbol receiving a value of position as well as an absolute value. A profound and important idea which appears so simple to us now that we ignore its true merit, but its very simplicity and the great ease which it has lent to computations, put our arithmetic in the first rank of useful inventions, and we shall appreciate the grandeur of the achievement the more when we remember that it escaped the genius of Archimedes and Apollonius, the two of the greatest men produced by antiquity. It's a mathematical fact that two negatives make a positive, so even under adverse circumstances, think positively. There is no great religion without a great schism. All of them have it, and that's because you're dealing with something called faith, and faith is not something you can prove. Faith is personal opinion. When you're dealing with something with a certainty, like a science or logic. You don't have to sense. There's no wiggle room. That's why history is not filled with Warren math cults. Because you can settle the issue, you can prove something to be right or wrong, and that's the end of the argument. Next case. Whereas when you're dealing with faith, you can never argue your point or another point because you're dealing with intangibles. Personally, I think faith is what you ask of somebody when you don't have the goods to prove your point. Ahoy, adoy. Mathematics and poetry are two ways to drink the beauty of truth. Speaking mathematics to you, all mathematicians live in two different worlds. They live in a crystalline world, to a perfect platonic forms, an ice palace, but they also live in a common world where things are transient, ambiguous, subject to about mathematicians go backwards and forge from one world to another. They're adults in the crystalline world, infants in the real one. Life is geometry and chemistry, not biology. The ultimate reason for teaching kids with right proof is not that the world is full of proofs, it's that the world is full of non-proofs, and grown-ups need to know the difference. It's hard to settle for a non-proof once you've really familiarized yourself with the genuine article and pinnacle. When Republicans recently charged the president with promoting class warfare, he answered it was just math, but it's more than math. It's a matter of morality. Republicans have posed the deepest moral question of any society, whether we're all in it together. Their answer is we're not. President Obama should proclaim former President Obama should proclaim loudly and clearly, we are from afar. Neglect of mathematics, a work injury to all knowledge, since he who is ignorant of it cannot know the other sciences or things too of this world. And what is worst is those who are thus ignorant or are unable to perceive their own ignorance, and so do not seek remedy. In any case, do you really think but they even want something that is relevant to their daily lives? You think something practical like compound interest is going to get them excited? People enjoy fantasy, and that is just what mathematics can provide. A relief from daily life and an anodyne to the practical workaday world. It spins in a world and it twirls. Mathematical knowledge adds a manly vigor to the mind, frees it from prejudice, credulity, and superstition. Why don't we want our children to learn to do mathematics? Is it that we don't trust them, that we think it's too hard? You seem to feel that they are capable of making arguments and coming to their own conclusions about Napoleon. Why not about triangles? I started studying law, but this I could stand just for one semester. I couldn't stand more. Then I studied languages and literature for 2 years. After 2 years, I passed an examination. With the result, I have a teaching certificate for Latin and Hungarian for the lower classes of the gymnasium for kids from 10 to 14. Never made use of this teaching certificate. And then I came to philosophy, physics, and mathematics. In fact, I came to mathematics indirectly. I was really more interested in physics and philosophy and thought about those. It is a little shortened, but not quite wrong to say I thought I am not good enough for physics, and I am too good for philosophy. Mathematics is in between, indeed. So how does one go about proving something like this? It's not like being a lawyer where the goal is to persuade other people, nor is it like a scientist testing a theory. This is a unique art from within the world of rational science. You're trying to craft a poem of reason that explains fully and clearly and satisfies the pickiest demands of logic, while at the same time giving us goosebumps. Life is a linear equation in which you can't cross multiply. If you think you can do it, you can do it. If you think you can't do it, you can't do it. It's a simple formula, the algebraic sum of all the transformations occurring in a cyclical process can only be positive, or as an extreme case, equal to nothing. Nothing comforted Sabine like long division. Nothing comforted Sabine like long division. That was how she had passed time waiting for Fan, but then a participle Parisiple to come back from their test sheet figured the square root of the date, while another other people knit and reads to bind blame much of the world's unhappiness on the advent of calculators. Plenty of mathematicians hardy anew could follow step-by-step discourses flaggingly yet accounted for nothing beside Ramanujan. Years later, he would contrive an infernal a scale of natural mathematical ability on which he assigned himself at 25 in Littlewood, 32 Dave Hilbert, the most eminent mathematician of the day. He assigned an 82 Ramanujan. He gave 100 spitting from a butt, not end of blah 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 dot dot not ka ka.